but I'd argue that a lot of the people we will never know because the MI5 records of the so-called subversive organizations were, as far as I know, destroyed en masse in the fairly early years of New Labour. We'll never know how many people in New Labour, in fact, had such past, because that would be the only reliable way of finding out. I'm almost unique in this, in that I go on so much about it. Everybody knows that I'm an ex-Trotskyist because I make sure that they do. In general, the major New Labour figures who were former Trotskyists or former communists were quite reticent about it and didn't want to talk about it, and to this day don't. But there was an awful lot of them, and the most prominent of those who didn't want to talk about it while he was anywhere near power was Blair himself. And I'm still amazed, this extraordinary interview which Blair gave Peter Hennessy, must be 2 or 3 years ago now, in which he actually said, yes, I was a Trotskyist at university. I was completely bowled over by Isaac Deutsch's 3-volume biography, and I think he had friends who were in Trotskyist organizations. And it passed as if he'd never said it. I was the only journalist, as far as I know, who ever wrote about it. But imagine if Blair had, in 1996 or 1997, said, well, actually, yes, I was a Trotskyist at university. What would have happened? It would have completely destroyed the whole confection of this moderate public school boy who was leading Labour into a new era of moderation. The fact was that he was one, and he never quite said which organisation he belonged to. He began the sentence. I remember this, quite funny. When I was in the 1970s, I think he was about to name whatever sect he'd been in, and he decided that he would think better of that. I don't blame him. But a lot of them, Alan Milburn and Alistair Darling and John Reed and Peter Mandelson and Stephen Byers and Bob Ainsworth, just to name a few that come to mind without any great effort, all had some sort of revolutionary socialist background. And how much of it had they given up? I don't know. What most revolutionary socialists did was to adapt their revolutionary opinions, particularly in the direction of cultural revolution, when the idea that a working class revolution might happen became completely ludicrous after Mrs. Thatcher abolished the working class. People had to look elsewhere. And I think the Gramscian road to power seized the television studio, seized the newspaper, seized the university, seized the schools, much, much more appealing than storming the Winter Palace and grabbing the post office and the railway station, which is what we used to set out to do.
We will make America great again.